Hey everyone, welcome back to another Anti-Influencer. I'm your host Nick Baldwin, and I have my co-host Stacy Sauls with me today. Hey Stacy, what's happening?
What's up, Nick? Super excited about our guest today.
I am super excited about our guest as well. She is a real mega producing agent, but falls right within the lines of the type of people we like to interview because she is just silently crushing the real estate game. She's on I think it's the number one real estate team in Florida. If I'm wrong, she can come on here and correct me. But she is a KW, a Keller Williams Maps coach. She sells anywhere between 70 to 100 homes a year personally. What else, Stacy? What am I missing?
She was
She
30
was
under
30
30.
under 30. Oh, right. 30 under 30. That was like the one thing she's like, mention 30 under 30. Don't forget.
I think that's cool. I mean,
Yeah, I do too. And her
very
name
good.
is Saria Finkelstein, and she's here with us on the Anti-Influencer. How's it going, Saria?
What up, guys?
Did I get all of that right?
You did. I mean, I didn't beg that hard about 30 under 30 to be clear, but
I
like
mean, you pretty
if I
much
get to if
told
I
me
get to
7
claim
times.
30 under 30 forever and like still pretend like I'm under 30, like that's a win in my book.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 30 under 45.
There you go.
So, just got to embrace it. We're getting wiser. So thank you
Yes.
for being on the Anti-Influencer. We wanted to have you here because, wealth whispers, and you definitely fall into that category. Um, you know, I just want everyone to know this is not a podcast that's anti-social media. This is a podcast that is pro authenticity, and we feel that a lot of the content that's being put out there by entrepreneurs is very inauthentic. So you could have 1,000 followers or 100,000 followers. It doesn't matter to us as long as you're authentic with what you do. That's what we care about. So thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
I just also want to say you're on your aunt's team, Lori Reader.
I am
So what's the name of the team? The Lori Reader team, right?
Lori Finkelstein reader team. Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's a lot of words. I feel like
It
I
is
would.
a lot of words. We have to put people through serious training to like be able to actually say the team name.
Yeah. So anyway, let's just jump into it. So talk to us about your journey to be a real estate agent. Like what I know that's the family, it's kind of the family business, but is that what kind of sparked your interest to jump into it?
For me, for sure. I'm a third generation realtor, actually. My grandparents were in the business for 40 years, and Lori got into the business as well. Didn't want to be, and my grandma signed her up and got her into it anyway. And Lori was just always my best friend growing up. And so I was like, I want to go play with Aunt Lori all day. I'd go with her to open houses. And so I had no idea what it actually meant to be in real estate other than I love Lori and she looks like she's having fun. So that's what I want to do. But literally, when I interned with her for 4 summers when I was in college, and then when I got my license, I came in and said, so how much do I make per week? And she laughed in my face. So I learned very quickly what it actually meant to be in real estate.
Yeah, because there's no salary. What are you crazy?
Nope.
Commission. So when you found out it was a commission-based business, I mean, did that kind of make you hesitant?
No, I mean, I was still living in my parents' house at the time, so I had that to fall back on, but I actually never had a salaried position at any point in my life. Maybe as like a camp counselor when I was a kid. But other than that, I always had a job where how much I made directly reflected how hard I worked. So I was a waitress for a really long time. I loved waitressing. I loved getting to talk to all different kinds of people and that how hard I worked that day depended on how much money I had in my apron at the end of the night. Like I loved that. It was so much fun. I don't think my back could handle it these days, but I was a really good waitress.
100%. Like I was in the restaurant business for a really long time, probably like 15 years. And yeah, when I was in a bad mood, I mean, it definitely reflected in my tips,
Mhm.
because people can tell.
Yep.
But yeah, so you've definitely achieved like huge success in real estate without, a massive following on social media. Talk about your strategy for building your business outside of like the typical kind of like influencer framework.
Yeah, I mean, look, I obviously posted things on social media. I had to fake it till I made it in the beginning. But my business really was built belly to belly, to be honest. I spent at least 4 or 5 days a week in an open house when I first got in the business, because that was at least a guarantee that I was going to get to talk to someone. So I mean, just like a little bit of background, when I first joined Lori's team, there were 4 of us,
Oh wow.
including me and Lori, right? And so we didn't have a database. She had Post-it notes of, like, clients' numbers all over the office. We were trying to convince her that she needed a website. I mean, it was very, very different times then. And, so she taught me and my grandma taught me, you go and you sit in an open house. So I would just sit there and I'd make calls or I'd talk to people, and if people came, I had a much better chance of making a relationship with someone in an open house than I did sitting in the office. So that was really how I built my business in the beginning.
What year was that?
You're dating me? So in
Well,
2010,
she just turned
2010.
30,
right?
so
2010. Yeah.
Okay. So what happened that first year? How many houses did you sell?
So my first year, I think I sold like 24 homes.
okay, that's
Uh,
pretty good for a
Here.
first year.
Yeah.
yeah, and it was all really organic. We had started off 6 months in, we switched and came to Keller Williams, and I thought I didn't need any training. I was like, I have real estate in my blood. I'm a people person. Like, I don't need scripts. I don't need any of that stuff. I don't need to be in training. I got this. And they were all like, sit down, get in school, and we're going to get you where you need to go. And I'm so thankful to this day that they did that, because I'm like the script master now at this point. Like, I couldn't do any of my business without the scripts and dialogues. So, in the beginning, that was all I did. And someone told me, look, you got to learn before you earn, and you have to act like a top performer until you're a top producer. And those were like my mottos in the beginning of how I was building my business.
Okay, let's talk about acting like a top performer. So today we see on social media somebody posing with a brand new vehicle. I'm so successful in real estate. So what did it look like for you?
No, for me, it was about the activities. Like, acting like a top performer meant like do the activities that a top performer is doing until you became a top producer. So that meant calling 3 to 4 hours a day. I was script practicing every day. I had a different script partner for every single day of the week on all different parts of the country, so that I was always getting different objections and I could handle anything. And I always think about when I'm scripting that I have like these little monkeys in my brain that when someone talks, they're like going through files, like, oh, I got this one. I know this one. Here you go. So they're all in my files in
Who were you calling?
there. So whether it was people from open house, it was my sphere. I'm very lucky that I've lived in the same place my whole life. So a lot of it was fear. Now, when I got in the business, I was 22, and that was hard to get over, as you hear a lot of newer agents say that no one wants to trust their biggest investment to a 22-year-old living in their mom's house, right? So, I had to just come up with ways to get around that and be able to show them that I had the knowledge. And so for me, it was really just immersing myself into the education so that I could prove to them that I could earn their business. But most of people who I was calling in the beginning was my sphere, people that I met at open houses. And that was really it in the beginning. Again, we didn't have a database. So, like, I didn't have a database to call into. Now, when we got a database and Lori came to us and said, oh my God, I'm so excited. We're going to get this database. I'm going to be able to see how many people you're calling every day, how long it takes you to respond to a lead, how often you call them. I was like, oh my God, this is horrible.
Like,
Like, what do you mean?
accountability, what is this?
What is this? And then I became obsessed with it, right? So she used to, at the end of every day, put like a printout on the wall that showed like the rankings of who made like the most calls and everything. And I'm just super competitive. So it's like, I'm going to be number one all the time. And that really pushed me a lot in the beginning.
So do you yeah, I like what you said before, like you were doing the activities that a
Yeah.
successful person does. So like what do those activities look like now? Like are you still doing that every day, making those calls? Do you do that at a specific time every day? Do you make sure that you make the calls every day? What's that look like?
So this is about being authentic, right? That's why
Yeah.
we're here. So my life is very different now. I have a 15-month-old. So
Oh yeah, you're a
priorities
mama.
I'm a mama, so priorities have definitely shifted over the years. So while I do make calls every day, I would be lying if I told you that I was making 3 to 4 hours of calling a day. Now, should I be? I definitely should be. And my business has grown organically over the years that I'm very blessed that I have a lot of sphere and past clients and referrals that come to me. So a lot of that is really just harnessing those relationships and making sure that I'm staying in touch with them. And so, like, for me, social media, I use it in a different way. I see that clients are pregnant or they're getting married. I use that as a reason to then pick up the phone and call them. Sure, like I'll make a comment or something, but that's really how I feel social media helps me really stay in touch with my clients.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So, your approach to building and maintaining relationships is just using social media as like a window into people's lives and just
Yeah.
making sure that you're keeping up to date with what they're doing and congratulating them or whatever it might be.
Sending a baby blanket or whatever it is, it's just knowing what's going on and they appreciate it. Rather than just like being one of the 300 people who wrote a comment, I actually took the time to call them or send them something, and it means a lot to them.
Yeah. So, how much of your business you think right now is like organic business versus making those calls? Because I'm sure your team generates leads from
Yeah.
different sources, like on the internet. So, what do you think the percentages of like
Yeah, my
organic
sphere and
now?
past client organic business is around 70 to 75% of my
Okay, so
business.
it's a major.
Yeah.
So other than what you're doing, in with that social media strategy, what else are you doing to maintain relationships?
So, I mean, relationships, I whether that's
Well, to
going
get referrals, because I'm sure it's like repeat
I
or
still do a
referral.
lot of open house.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I
Okay.
still do. That's the one thing that I was not willing to give up because it just gets me in front of people, and I love getting to talk to people, and I know if I can talk to them in person, they're gonna work with me.
Yeah,
So
I
that was
mean,
one piece of my business I just never gave up.
So I bet a lot of our listeners want to know, how are you converting at a high level at open houses?
Oh god, I could do a whole class for you guys on open houses, but
Need
for me,
it.
it's understanding that you have a really, really small window of opportunity when they walk in that house, right?
mhm.
And so I'm very intentional with every single word that I say, every single question that I ask. And if anyone has ever sat in an open house with me, they'll know like I'll laugh at the same jokes, I'll say all of the same exact things. And the client doesn't know that they're being scripted, but it is 1000% a script. So for me, the first thing I ask any person who walks in the door, which I learned from someone else, was, "Hey, do you live in the neighborhood or are you house shopping?" So that the first thing I find out is, are you a buyer or are you a potential seller? Because if you're a neighbor who's thinking about selling and I'm just talking to you about the house, we're never connecting.
Mhm.
I'm never giving you what you need. So right off the bat, that's my initial question. And then from there is going to depend on exactly where I'm going to go. And then the other tidbit that I always ask everyone is I always ask, so when do you ask people to sign in for the open house? 99% of people say when they first walk in the door. I've practiced this, I've done it all different ways. You have such a higher probability of getting inaccurate information when you ask them when they first walk in the door. Because when I walk in a store, if someone asks me for my email, oh, they're getting a fake email 1000%, right? I have to earn their right to get their correct information. So I look at my me walking them through the house as me auditioning to get their contact information. I have to show them that I have the knowledge, that I know the market, because then at the end, my one liner that I always say is, "Hey, do you mind signing in so they don't think I had a party in their house while they were gone?" They laugh, it brings their walls down, right? It brings their wall down, they're more likely to give me their accurate information, and little key, I don't bring business cards to the open house. So they ask me, "Hey, do you have a card?" Actually, I just gave out my last one. Let me go ahead and text you my virtual business card. What's your number? So
Oh, I
that way
love
I'm
it.
getting their accurate number right then and there. I can see that their phone is going off, and then we have an automatic relationship, at least that way. And then I send a video text at the end of the open house.
I used to have this home inspector that I worked with when I lived in New Jersey that always told the same jokes to every buyer to kind of like break the ice because during a home inspection they're very nervous.
Oh, yeah.
So he would be like, "Yeah, I don't inspect basements because they're beneath me," and then
And
he'd say,
it's like hit or miss, right? Some people
right.
don't get it, I'm
Some
sure.
people laugh, some people don't, and then he'll be like, "I really should inspect the windows because I can feel their pain."
Oh my gosh, that's great. That would make me laugh. That takes the edge off.
And like every
That's great.
time I heard these jokes 100 times, I would die every time. And the buyers like didn't know. They're like, "Wait a minute, should I laugh
Right.
at this?"
Is this for real?
Yeah, but it
You're
was
gonna inspect the
dude,
basement
nothing.
though, right, dude?
Yeah, and he's like,
I am your inspector. I am your
I
inspector.
usually don't inspect attics because a lot of times it goes over their heads. Like he would say things like that. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
I love it. I would use that inspector all day long.
I used him exclusively. He was the best.
That's
But anyway, all right. So you sell about 100 homes a year, 70 to 100. How did you like? How do you do that? Right now, most of them are buyers. Am I correct in saying that?
now it's closer to 50-50, but for
Okay,
a
so now
long
it's
time.
because when you take listings, it's a lot more leverage. You get a little bit more of your life back because you're not schlepping
I
people
mean,
around all
honestly,
the
it was because my buyer business organically became a
Oh,
seller business
trying to get
after
the
5 to
sellers,
7
right.
years.
Oh.
Right? So I started off exclusively working with buyers. I referred out every single listing. I was like, I need to just focus on buyers because I knew that great listing agents were great buyers agents first because we learned what we hated about listing agents, what worked, what didn't.
Mhm.
So I mastered the buyer side. And then once my clients organically became sellers, then I started working sellers and working that into my business as well around years 5 to 7.
That's amazing that you referred out listings, and people are probably listening like, "What is wrong? What she there's something going on here.
I
There's
know,
something wrong
totally
here."
crazy. I know. No, I'm definitely a firm believer, buy side, best side, like, I still buyers have, like, a special place in my heart, and
Yeah.
I love giving the key as opposed to taking it away, and so for
Yeah.
me, it was just always a much more relational business.
Mhm.
It's never fun to call your seller and tell them that everyone hates their house and that we have
Right.
to lower the price. I mean, I do it, but, it's never fun.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, all right, so you mentioned open houses, you get internet leads, but how you leverage social media in a certain way, but you're not like, out there like a lot of the influencers that we are anti against. Or we're
Right.
not anti against that we're against because we're anti-influencer. But like how do you differentiate yourself, in a crowded market without relying heavily on like just putting yourself out there on social all the time? Like, what are your primary marketing strategies for reaching potential buyers and sellers other than the open houses that you do? But is there any other strategy that you use?
I think that I mean, look, you can go on my social media. I post, you're just gonna see pictures of like the cutest baby you've ever seen in your life.
Okay. Hmm,
Um,
hmm.
so it for me, really, it's that simple. I don't really do much more than that because I don't have to, and I just do those things at a really high level rather than putting my hands in 20,000 different pots and doing
Hmm.
everything like just okay and like, oh, let me get one lead from this lead source and two from this one. I've just really mastered the ones that I love. And so I think that that's where a lot of people go wrong is like you have to fall in love with the lead generation process because lead gen is what's going to get you what it is that you want and need,
Mhm.
which is money. And so some people just they want to do every type of lead gen just at like a mediocre level, and it becomes really hard to excel. So
Okay,
if
that makes a lot of sense. So then
yeah,
what's your preferred I know you said you love open houses, but what's really your preferred, version of lead generation?
so I still like because I'm great at it, I still do make calls because I'm just love having those types of conversations, and for me, it's a game, right? It's
Mhm.
how long can I keep them on the phone? Especially, like, give me someone who's disgruntled and doesn't wanna give me information, like, I'm like, "Yes, let's go." Like, this is what I love to do. So, I'm still very much am calling. We still get internet leads, and I'm still calling all of those people, but my preferred is getting in person, whether that's in a buyer consult or a strategy session or an open house.
So get them in person, convert them, then
Mhm.
add them to your core advocate pool, right? Because it sounds like when you lead generate, I like to think of lead generation like playing darts. Most people play darts blindfolded in real estate. They're like, I'm just going to do this, that, and they never hit
Right,
anything.
after drinking 10 beers, right.
Yeah, exactly. You honed in on that bullseye of your core advocates. And then what happens, your core advocates blow it
Right.
up for you, right? And then you've got their SOI. It's genius all around. And it gives you your life back, right? That's your leverage right there.
Yeah, it is.
So you're going through this database of people you don't know,
Mhm.
right? And how many calls or how many appointments do you try to set a day?
So, I think that for me, I'm at this point again, like, because my life has shifted and my priority is making sure I'm a present mom. So for me, I'm looking to book a minimum of 3 to 5 appointments a week, and that's enough for me to build the business that I want, right? So
Mhm,
I think another thing that is so under talked about is, right, that it's always about, like, growing and doing more and more and more, and, like,
mhm,
for years, that crossing that 100 unit goal was, like, huge for me, like, I just wanted to be able to do it so bad, and then once I did it, and I'm like, "Wow, that was a lot of work. Do I really wanna do this all the time?" And then, um we went through like a very personal but very long infertility journey. And then once I got pregnant, I was like, this is my priority. This is it. And so to be someone who is always wanting to grow and do more and do more and do more, to then say, okay, it's time to start doing less and to be okay with it was
mhm.
really hard. Like, it's very hard as someone who always wants to do more to accept and tell yourself it's okay to do less and still feel good about it. It's really hard, and I
I
don't
love
think
that you're saying that because the more mentality is just shoved down our throats, especially in
the
this
hustle
industry.
culture, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So I love that you said that. I mean, once you have children, it totally changes your mindset
yeah.
of what's important. I've noticed a lot of entrepreneurs that don't have kids, they just have no idea. You know what I
I mean,
mean?
I was one of those people. I had no idea. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And before I until I did. I remember, like, sitting in a room and then being like, "What's your why?" And everyone's talking about, like, their families and this and that, and I'm like, "My why? Like, I just wanna kill it, like, I just wanna crush it, like, I wanna get my dog everything he needs, I wanna take my dog on a mountain vacation, like, that's what I wanna do." And now I get it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
for
what I
sure.
love about what you built is that people that do 100 deals and they're transactional, right? Not
Mhm.
relational. If they were to have a kid and want to scale back, that's the business, it's gone, right? But because you
So,
focus on relationships, you've got that
you know
sustainability.
A 100%, and I'm a really strong believer, you can do 100 units and still be relational, right? It's all about
Right.
how
Oh,
that
yeah.
business is built. So,
Oh, I
like,
agree.
for
110%.
me, I've been using the showing agent model since 2013.
Yeah.
And that was how I grew my business, and I was very resistant to it in the beginning because I was so relational, and once I realized that I could do it at such a high level and have even stronger relationships with my client, I was like, "Wow, the sky's the limit." Right? But then there is a limit. You have to decide, where is your limit? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice? And what are you willing to say no to keep growing and growing with that hustle culture? And at some point, I hit up my limit and I was like, this isn't as important to me. What is important is X, whatever that is for you.
Yeah, I think that's a really great outlook. And I feel like the way you would define success is, you know, doing the business, having the business you want to have, but then balancing that with spending enough time with your family. And if you're
Yeah,
able to do both at a high level, then I think that you've succeeded, don't you think?
yeah. I totally agree.
So, all right, let's talk about the real estate industry. It's gone through lots of different changes in recent years, and these online platforms and social media platforms are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. How have these changes impacted your approach to, like you mentioned before, like you do keep in touch with people through social media, commenting, maybe you'll pick up the phone and say hello, but like, has it changed your approach to your business at all? Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. I mean, to me, it didn't, but that's because it wasn't ever something that I relied heavily on.
Yeah.
Uh, in the beginning, I posted a lot, right? Like, I'm at an inspection, I'm doing this. Like, I wanted people to know that I was in real estate, that were in my sphere, so that when they thought about real estate, they called me. Super unique, right? I called myself your favorite realtor, right? But I couldn't go anywhere to any grocery store, anything without someone saying it's my favorite realtor. So although
Hey,
it's
it started to
easy,
work.
it worked for me, right? I mean, literally, I used to drive around with a red carpet in my trunk and I would roll it out at all my open houses. Like,
Oh,
I
Oh,
roll it
wow.
out
there it
on I mean, like queen of cheese over here. Like no one is,
But
I'm
that's
not
so
putting down
good.
anyone into the cheese. Like I was the cheesiest, like the cheesiest. So I just leaned into my cheese and I was like just spreading cheese all over the place, right? And I was willing to do that and put myself out there in the beginning. Then once I, felt like everyone knew that I was a realtor, it was like, okay, I don't need to be like on this as much. And
Mhm.
then it became more personal. Every once in a while, of course, I'm going, hey, just so you know, I'm not only an amazing
You always
mom,
have
like
to remind people,
just
yeah.
crushed it. Just crushed it this month, still number one, even though I'm still at working from home and I've got a baby. So I feel like it's important for people to see that you can do both.
I love that. I'm stealing the red carpet. So if you do see me post on
Uh-oh,
social
Stacy's
media,
gonna
here's
do
our
it.
open house. Walk the red
It was the
carpet.
best. It was the best. I loved it.
Yeah, I wanna go back for a second because, you're pretty well known within Keller Williams for, being buyer heavy and using the showing agent model. We could have a whole podcast around how you do that, but, like, tell us about how you have those buyer consultations, which you always do. For someone listening, trying to figure out how to leverage the showing agent model, how do you transition that? How do you introduce that without the buyer feeling like you're kind of like handing them off to someone else because you don't have the time to show them property?
Just let me pull out my little monkey script right here. Okay. So
Your Rolodex
I
right
found
there.
it. I found it. It's all comes down to being able to explain it in a way that it's a benefit to them. Right? And so, hey, I've got this awesome partner that I work with so that whenever you want to go and see a home, I've always got someone available to go and see it. Listen, you don't need me to come and say, this is the kitchen and this is the bathroom. Trust me, that's not why you're hiring me. You're hiring me because I am a bullish negotiator. I'm going to be able to negotiate an amazing price for you, save you money, write a contract that's going to
Mhm.
protect you and your assets, and I'm going to get you to closing without you wanting to cry yourself to sleep. How awesome is that? Right? And they're like, "Oh wow, that's awesome. Okay, great. When can I meet them?" Right? So it's not, and now it's also you have to have the right partner that you trust that is an extension of you. And for me it was always just I needed constant communication with them. So like at the end of the showing, I needed like the cliff notes of what happened. Okay, house number 1, it smelled. House number 2 had a pink carpet. Like so that I can pick up the phone and say, "Oh my god, I heard that first house smelled gnarly, right? So it
Hmm.
was like there was no beat miss, and it's like I was there in the first place, and they never felt like the ball was dropped at that point. They're still getting what they wanted to go see a house when they wanted. I'm still getting them the house and getting them to closing, so it was a win-win for everybody.
Genius.
That's so perfect. And now more than ever, the agents have to show their value. I mean, if they get like, for lack of a better term, two for the price of one,
Right.
that's essentially what they're getting,
Yeah.
and they have
But
one
it's also
person who,
like you have to be very clear, like, I'm still the one writing your contract. I'm still the one doing your negotiations, etcetera. Like, that's what you're hiring me for. I'm like, honestly, if I go take you to show a house, I'm probably gonna lock the key inside. Like, you don't want me to go show you a house. We're First of all, I'm gonna get lost. They called me Yui in college because I always got lost and had to make U-turns. So when I was showing properties, I literally would tell my clients that and say, just stay close. We'll probably have to make a couple U-turns, but we'll get there eventually. Right? Like
Right.
you're in much better hands with the showing agent.
So a lot of people would say, selling 100 properties on average. I know like now you have the baby, so it might be a little
Yeah.
less, but like you sold 100 houses a year on average for a very
A lot.
long time.
Yeah.
It's obviously no small feat. So like beyond those numbers, what in your work gives you the most satisfaction?
Oh, for me, it's still the buyers, guys. It's
Oh,
still like that closing day, for them to be excited and to be able to give them that key. I love when I've worked with like multiple people from like multiple generations of a family that you do such a good job that you then get to help their kids and then they have a baby and you get to be a part of that. I mean, the amount of Thanksgiving invitations that I get is a little bit ridiculous. Like there's not enough stretchy pants in the world to attend all of them. But like,
Nice.
I mean, I have a listing right now. I met her at an open house 8 years ago,
Wow.
and she called me and was like, "I saved your number this whole time because I knew when I was gonna sell a house, there was no one else that I was gonna work with."
it's the red
I mean,
carpet. I'm telling you.
it's definitely the red carpet.
And had you kept in touch with her or she just happened to remember you?
I didn't. I
Wow.
had
Did you
sold her
remember her when
listen,
she told you who it was?
I did because I had met her at an open house and then her kids had been looking for a house and they had gone through 2 realtors and were having a terrible experience and she called and was like, "You have to call this realtor that I met today at the open house." I sold them a house. We found a house in less than 10
Okay.
days. And
You helped
so
her family then.
I had the daughter on social media, right? We were
Okay, that's
friends
awesome.
on social media, and so when it came time for her to sell, she's like, "I wanna get in touch with her," and she's like, "I'm friends with her on social media, let me just send her a message right now." And so it's just it can be a beautiful thing when it's used right, and for people to
Yes,
always still be
100%.
able to stay in contact because I don't remember what the percentage is, and I'm totally gonna make it up, but what was it, like 80 something percent of people would have used their realtor again if they only remembered their
Yeah, and
name?
only like 20% actually do.
Right, and so I feel like social media has the ability to lower that percentage because you can stay in communication with people and you can be in front of them and they can see your name, so when they are ready, it's easier. So, I feel like social
Mhm.
media has only made it easier to be successful and stay in a relational uh, business with your clients.
I love you. I
Yeah,
would hire you.
I also feel like social media has given people the permission to kind of phone it in a sense, like phone in their keeping in touch. Like,
Mhm.
well, I don't need to call my past clients because they see what I'm doing on social all the time. Or I don't need to text
Yeah,
them or send them a card because they see what I'm doing. I feel like it's made agents a little bit lazier.
for sure.
You know what I mean?
It can
Because I
go
just
both
commented
directions.
on their post, so I don't need to like call them next month.
Right. No, it can definitely go both directions. And there's certain occasions that a comment is fine, but
Oh
there's
yeah.
certain ones where I'm gonna pick up the phone or I'm gonna send them a video or I'm gonna just like happen to be in their neighborhood and be like, "Hey, I'm in the neighborhood. Can I stop by?" Right?
Hmm.
So it gives me more of an insight as to what's going on. Whereas before, like we didn't necessarily know if someone was getting married, hey, maybe they need
Right.
to get a bigger
Well,
house, right? So it just gives you more of an insight.
I mean, you make a good point. Like it definitely can go both ways. Like it can make you a little bit
Mhm.
lazier, but it can also make your life so much easier.
Yeah,
Like I would have my team scroll through Facebook once a week. We'd do this. We'd scroll through our Facebooks, and I would tell them you have to write 5 handwritten cards. Scroll through Facebook, see what people are doing. If you see something that someone's proud of or excited about, write the card, drop it in the mail.
love that.
Like, hey, I just noticed on Facebook that little Timmy like just scored his first goal in the soccer game. That's so cool. Just want to drop you a note and say I'm proud of him. Like, no one's gonna get a card that says that. You send a
I
Christmas
love that.
card, it's gonna just get right into the pile there.
It's
Mhm.
the genuine, authentic touch. So I just had a birthday. I won't tell you what number it is. And
Well, you're
realtor,
30 under 30, Stacy.
yeah, I know, right? Realtors would send me birthday cards with their face on it. I'm like, cool. Happy birthday,
I mean,
Susie. And they're posing. And I'm like, that's
right.
cool. But like, I
I mean,
don't want
realtors
that.
will put
And
their
my
face on anything.
consumer does
The
not
realtors put their face.
like
Realtors would
They're
put their face on your birthday cake.
it's
they're
so weird. I'm like,
literally,
make it about the client, not
Yeah.
about you, because that's how you get the business.
yeah,
Yeah, 100%. So this has been so fun and awesome. I always enjoy talking to you, Saria.
always a
Um,
good time.
Stacey, do you have any final thoughts?
Ha, do I have final thoughts? I have so many questions, but I
Well,
know
all
that
right, ask one more question.
we wrap it up today. Okay, so what's next for you?
Hmm, that's a loaded question.
You know,
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
you
surprise.
what's
know,
next for her and
for
what
me
aspect of
right
her life?
now, for me, honestly, right now, what I'm really excited about is my new venture with MAPS coaching. So the ability to be able to help coach agents to the business that they've always wanted, but just don't know how quite to get there. So like having these conversations with people every single day and seeing that light bulb go off and seeing them being able to build for their business and their family what I was able to, and being able to do it faster and in a shorter period of time because we already did all the failing and failed our way forward. Like for me, that's what's filling my cup right now. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that.
If someone wants to find out how they can coach with you, where do
Yeah.
they go?
So funny. I'm really bad with Facebook Messenger, so that's not the way.
Okay.
Um, so you can shoot me a text message. That's always going to be the best way, fastest way. My phone is 954-907-6037. That's always going to be the fastest and easiest way to get in touch with me. But I'd love the opportunity to talk to you, see if we're a good fit.
Love it. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, this has been super fun. If you want to reach out to Saria, she gave you her phone number. She's braver than I am, giving that number out. Um, and she's like the ultimate anti-influencer. She's very influential, but doesn't flaunt it. And that's what we love. And she's authentic. So, Saria, thank you so much. And if you have any referrals for Fort Lauderdale,
Oh, yeah. South
obviously,
Florida, baby. I'm here.
send them her way. Stacy, you wanna say anything
Um,
wise
Thank
to
you for teaching everyone that you have to learn before you earn. I mean, I think you said
Mhm.
that a few times, and it just, I'm like, you know what? She's got it. So you're a true leader, and we're just really grateful to have you on.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. This was a
and
lot
if
of
you
fun.
liked yeah, and if you liked listening to us, just subscribe wherever you're listening. If you're listening on YouTube, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, click that button, leave us a review, and we'll see you next time on anti-influencer, however you want to pronounce it. We'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.